Good morning, everyone. Today is day 10 of our unit 1. We have today and Thursday before we end our observational unit and our critical thinking unit. So our major paper will be uploaded into Canvas Thursday evening, and today and Thursday you're going to turn it into something magnificent. So if you look at our agenda, you can see for academic notes, we're going to be talking about the e-portfolio, which becomes your final for this course. Make sure that you jot down the titles of these videos along with this start it somehow so that you know you can go back and find all these resources later on as you get serious about your e-portfolio. Today is more just setting up an account and learning what goes into this assignment. So the first one, this video is put out by Slick, and why in the world, what's the purpose behind the e-portfolio? It's extremely beneficial. It's about 4.5 minutes long, so click on that one. The second one is just a little bit longer, not much, but it's done by Stanford University. Slick isn't the only college that requires their students to do e-portfolios. Lots of universities do that, mainly for the reflection piece, so you can listen to kind of a justification of why this is part of your general education requirements. And finally, how do you actually set up a Digication account? If you click on this resource, it will take you to the Slick site where they teach you how to set up an account from there. I just want to add, if you're not with us, there are 5 parts of your e-portfolio that I will grade as part of your final. Write these down. The first page is your welcome page, and we will learn what goes into it later on. The second one is a goals and outcome page, and then your courses that you've taken, and in that one, that's where English 1010 will fit under the courses page, and then outside the classroom, and finally a resume page. So that's ePortfolio. Set up your account by following again, watch all 3 of them, but the last one will teach you how to set up your account through Digication. All right, so to introduce revision, I like to use this image of one of Dorothea Lange's pictures from the Great Depression. I've looked at this picture numerous times in numerous settings for different situations, and I thought I was always looking at the same picture. And then a couple of years ago, I looked at it again, and I realized there's another woman, or there's another person in the picture that I had never noticed before. And so a kind of an object lesson of our papers. We can be looking at something a long time and think that we see everything that's there and what the reader is going to see when they go over our draft. And then all of a sudden we kind of have an aha moment where we see something new or a possibility of something new. And that's the mindset I want you guys to have between now and Thursday. So each of these pictures will illustrate that concept. If you look at this image, you can see both the picture of a young woman and an old woman. And here you have a woman in the silhouette and a man playing a saxophone in the black part. This one I don't like because I never can come up with the right answer, but just try to count the number of legs and you'll notice your mind kind of shifting back and forth with what is a leg and what is not. So each of those illustrate this idea of revision and the purpose behind it, what we're supposed to do with revision. I want you to think of this is where you really get serious about your writing. And I can guarantee you the people who take that seriously, from a really good rough draft to what they actually turn in a few days later, that's the difference between a C paper and an A paper. So block out some time. Wednesday will be a great day for you since it's parent-teacher conference. So what are some things you can do? Your rough draft, I want you to think of it as this iceberg. And you'll notice that you've said something on your paper, and think of what you've said as only the tip of the iceberg. what did you say, but what could you really say? The way the iceberg, you can see that there's so much more that's hidden underneath. And I want you to think about that with your main idea of your paper. I don't want you to think of revision as merely just editing. So I love this quote. There are no good writers. There are only good rewriters. If you click on this link, it's a 38, well, it's actually about an hour video, but at the 33-minute point, for 5 minutes, Amy Tan, who wrote and won the Pulitzer Prize for the Joy Luck Club, she is talking to another professional writer, Maxine Hong Kingston, and they talk about this ideas of rewriting. So watch that and learn some valuable points from each of these famous writers in their discussion. Slick talks about revision in one of their open classroom or Pressbook articles, and it's called Revision is Rewriting, That Is All. What I'd like you to do is click on this article and read. It's quite extensive, but I want you to read the part inverted outline. And what it does is as you go back to your own essay, and with your essay, write an outline. What did you do at the beginning? And then kind of block it out with Roman numerals like an outline is done, and see if you spend too much time on one part of your paper. So what this is doing right here is allowing you to think more holistically about the paper, the big things before you get to the small things. And on the side, I put some notes for you to think about. Revision is within the writing process a step, but now I want you to think about revision. There's so many steps within the revision process itself. Revision requires us to read and reread and take a step back and look at what we've written from a fresh perspective. And the last one I think is really important, that you're in this class to learn how to become a better writer. And we become better writers through revising. I'm not going to take a lot of time on this one because you can read it for yourself. But remember that college writer, the third bullet point I want to point out, college writers focus on higher order concerns, meaning support, structure, clarifying, and logic. Those are big, hard things to fix, whereas error hunting is an easy thing that we can take the last 30 minutes and do. So to practice with this idea of big possibilities, I want you to get some Post-it notes. If you're not here at class, you'll actually turn these in. Take out all of the previous essays that you've written for me that I've given you some feedback on. And you'll notice there's some things in blue. So pull out a Post-it note and place it on the one that's your best. And why was it your best? Why do you like the best? So anyway, read these 4 sections, and on sticky notes or Post-it notes, write some insights that you staple on it. Then staple all of your one-pagers or short writing assignments together. You'll be turning this in for credit next time. Remember that revision is not editing, and so I'd like you to think about one of your responses or of your essay so far, and look at each of these bullets and ask yourself, or write some notes to yourself on your draft, or if you have a hard copy, if not, on a separate sheet of paper, what you need to do for internal revision. To me, if I were spending 20 hours of time in revision, I know you won't spend that much time with this paper, but if I were, I would make sure that about 18 hours were devoted to internal revision. This is where you just throw out things and you start with a new idea as part of a body or a new angle. Maybe you write this style completely different, and you end it with a better conclusion. Then, once you get that in place, then it's time for you to use external revision, where you focus on how you're writing your sentences, your punctuation, your spelling, whether or not you're documenting it correctly, and all that fun stuff. So, again, because revision is multiple steps, think of it. You revise first for content, then you move to expression, then mechanics, then format. And unfortunately, most people completely switch that order and then stop after the mechanics. So once you get something written really well, then this is where you can go back to these are some things that drive me insane with final copies. So sometime between now and Thursday, I want you to think of how to be more concise. This is a video that if we had lots of time, we would watch it, but to me, it's like the Bible of all college writers. Like, you should be watching this constantly, because William Strunk and E.B. White, who wrote this decades and decades ago, it still relates to how to make every sentence the best way you can say it. Once you've gotten the sentences in, then you want to move to editing. This is what separates a B paper from an A paper, because if you can have something beautifully written, but if there's glaring mistakes that jump out at you, we lose focus of what the meaning is, and we lose credibility with our reader. Because this is a college class, I'm not going to spend tons of time teaching you mechanical things, but each of these bullets are like fingernails on chalkboards to me. Things that drive me insane about papers. The first one, excessive sentences that start with there is, he or are, it is. Talk about boring your reader. You don't want to do that. The next one, excessive be verbs. The verb's the most important word in your sentence, and if that's your verb, they're lackluster. The next one is shifting in point of view. You write it in first person, then you shift to second person with a lot of yous. And anyway, jumping around with the narrator's voice. The next one is pronouns that don't relate to the actual noun. Like the word this without a noun after it. How does the reader know what this is unless you put the noun? So think about that and look at the example here. And then overusing commas. Students sometimes think that a final draft needs to be filled with commas. Remember, a comma is for the reader to pause. So don't overdo it. But these are great websites that will give you you can go to them and find whatever your flaw is and learn how to correct it really easily. And then active and passive voice. Passive voice is where it takes you 25 words to say something that you could say in 12 or 13. It's like taking a sentence and throwing it in the wrong order, and the reader is hanging until the end of the sentence to kind of make sense what you said in an overly wordy, backwards way. So look at the examples of active versus passive voice. So you are going to do two things for homework between now and Thursday. I want you to devote about 30 times by taking one of your prompts that you have written so far and make it better. Take one or two of these different techniques we've learned today. You're going to staple your bad prompt to the back of your good prompt, okay, so that I can see the difference. But then most of the time that you're going to use between now and then is devoting to this draft that you're writing and all the possibilities of what you need to do. Now, when we come to class on Thursday, you're going to be sharing your draft for the first half and with other classmates and getting some feedback from them. And then you're going to turn it in later that evening. So you don't have time to fix a lot of things. So have it almost ready to go on Thursday. We'll see you then. Bye.